The DNC has scheduled 12 upcoming debates, but none of them will focus on climate change. The party delegates voted against the measure this weekend, 222 to 137. While there will be CNN and MSNBC town halls on the subject, climate change advocates say that that is not good enough. The co-founder of the Sunrise Movement, Varshini Prakash, told followers while the decision was disappointing, that the fact that they were even acknowledged by the DNC was a victory.
People like Tom Perez, who leads the DNC, whip votes and kill the resolution. And I think we need to understand that people like Tom Perez, what is of utmost importance to him and people like him is not protecting the interests and lives of millions of people that he claims to represent, but of shielding the institutions that he is a part of from change, even when these issues are of utmost importance and are life and death. So for me and for people like me, I know my generation is taking this crisis so seriously. And we wish that the adults in the room would do the same.
Here to share her thoughts is the policy and political coordinator of the Sunrise Movement, Lauren Monis. Welcome back, Lauren.
Thank you.
Lauren, it's great to see you again. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with the DNC. I know there was a big kerfuffle, and as we just heard there, so the DNC is not going to participate in a climate debate, despite the fact that there was some support for it, or quite a bit of support for it within the coalition. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we saw last weekend that there was a resolutions committee meeting on Thursday, and there was agreement to have an independent climate debate where candidates could be on the same stage and debate their plans to tackle the climate crisis. And Saturday, through backroom dealings and whipping votes, Tom Perez led the charge to kill the resolution, even the compromise independent debate resolution. Despite millions of voters and hundreds of organizations, hundreds of young people actually taking the halls in the DNC meeting, demanding that the DNC take this crisis seriously and host a climate debate.
Have you been able to figure out how particular DNC members voted on this question?
We had been working with some DNC allies to try to organize more members, and we had really strong support. We saw that 137 members, due to our grassroots organizing across the country, stood with us and actually challenged Tom Perez. We're still trying to figure out the ways that Tom Perez was able to whip those votes and the allegiances of some of those DNC members, and I think there'll be more organizing and investigating of where money is coming from and different party affiliations.
Well, we're told the roll call will be coming out at some point, so I think we're all going to see, and I'm sure we're both
Which is
both
amazing
break
that we
down.
don't know yet.
Yeah, it is pretty
that they
amazing.
can vote in the dark and keep it secret until
Exactly.
for 2 weeks or so. And I think this goes to a broader thing. So look, I mean, let's give the counter argument, which is theirs, is that, well, we all agreed to these rules. You know, Bernie is being unfair because he was the one that pressed for all this. And so what is the I mean, I think I know the response, which is that this is an actual issue that a lot of people, Democrats, care about. So why not debate on it? I mean, has there been what was the response to the argument that the rules were set from the beginning?
Yeah, I think that our main response along the way was a clear moral clarity of saying this is an issue that is not just a single issue. It touches every sector of our economy, every aspect of our lives on a day-to-day basis, and it's actually existential to the survival of our species and the security and health of our country. And there are 12 debates, and if climate is polling as the #1 issue among Democratic voters, then it's strategic for the party to listen to its base and allocate one of the debates to this issue.
So Tim Ryan had what I think is a pretty interesting idea, which is like, wait a minute, like, why are we all asking the DNC for permission? Who is the DNC? We're running for president of the United States. And Tim Ryan, believe it or not, is running for president of the United States. He is one of those candidates. And so he suggests to the other candidates, let's just have the debate. What's the DNC going to do? Kick all of the Democratic presidential candidates off the ballot? And he proposed having it in Youngstown, which is obviously to his own political benefit because he represents Youngstown, but he's not going to win the nomination, so fine, let the guy have some political benefit, because there actually is a lot of value in having it in a place like Youngstown, because one of the big hang-ups on a Green New Deal is what is the transition for communities like Youngstown, whose manufacturing has been decimated but still have a nostalgic feel for it and are curious what the future holds for them. So is that the next step, to just go directly to candidates and say, stop kowtowing to this pathetic little committee and just have a debate and dare them to stop you?
Yeah, so we really commend Tim Ryan for stepping up and standing with us, and we're supporting him in that call for candidates to join him in a climate debate
Any
of
progress?
their own.
Any other candidates likely to say, sure, I'll join Tim Ryan?
I believe if I saw yesterday afternoon, Andrew Yang joined the call, and we're encouraging members to put pressure on some candidates if they're in the area through asking them directly. I think it's not going to be a primary focus of our campaigning moving forward.
Yeah.
We're shifting gears and really ramping up towards the September 20th global climate strike as one of the first of coordinated nationwide strikes over the next 6 months. So I think this is still a part of our strategy, and we really commend him and hope candidates join him.
Lauren, what we've seen really is that there's a big divide within the party right now. We have, people who have embraced the Green New Deal, who do talk in the existential language, but then we have people like Joe Biden who say that it is a threat but are not willing to. There was obviously that big debate around where there was a leak that he was considering a, quote, middle ground climate policy. Is that just unacceptable to you and to the movement? Yeah.
So we've seen him move left as candidates, front-runner candidates have put out more ambitious climate plans that actually tackle the crisis at the scale necessary. But still, his plan does not outright ban fossil fuels, and it also doesn't make the fossil fuel executives a clear enemy. And yeah, we're totally past the point. We have 11 years to radically transform every sector of our economy, and this is really 2020 election is the last best chance to elect a president that will be able to do that meaningfully.
What do you think is the real reason the DNC doesn't want to hold a debate on climate?
I think that we can look at where their money is still coming from. Tom Perez last year reversed the ban on fossil fuel contributions, and in this year they've received upwards of $60,000, which obviously comparable to the GOP is minimal, but that's still indicating that they're not, don't have the courage to say no and really shape the direction of where the party needs to head. And yeah, I think that over time, we have the 2020 electorate will be comprised of 40% millennials and Gen Z. That's impossible to ignore. So we're really shifting the ground under their feet, and we'll continue organizing by the millions as we move forward.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Lauren. I can tell you, as someone on the right, when I watch the right kowtow to the Chamber of Commerce, I know exactly how you feel. So appreciate it. Next on Rising, the U.S. has a higher incarceration rate than any of our top 3 allies combined.
But criminal justice reform advocates are trying to change that. The CEO of Cut 50 explains how her group plans to dramatically reduce the U.S. prison population and make communities safer when Rising continues.